A Woman at 7 and 20. A Sense and Sensibility meets Persuasion story vignette, written by Leenie Brown and narrated by Christopher, a cloned voice made available by the voice actor through the Elevenlabs library. Author's note: this vignette was inspired by a meme on social media that included the first line in the story you are about to hear, and then said, "Wanted, alternate universe where Marianne Dashwood and Anne Elliot meet." The idea caught hold of my imagination and stuck there, until I decided to root it out by writing. Of course, I took the liberty of sending the Dashwood sisters to Bath with Mrs. Jennings instead of London, because how else were they supposed to make a new friend named Anne? "A woman at 7 and 20, said Marianne Dashwood, after pausing a moment, can never hope to feel or inspire affection again. Her sister Eleanor cast an apologetic glance at their companion. I very much doubt, Marianne, that the human heart, be it male or female, withers away to non-existence in so short a period of time. 7 and 20 is not so ancient as you might think." She picked up her cup of tea and took a sip while Marianne lifted her chin and retorted, "It is not so very young either. A lady is most decidedly on the shelf as she is not married by 7 and 20. What gentleman of any value is going to consider such a lady? It is therefore only proper that all thoughts of longing for affection should be removed. It would be agony for it to be any other way. Imagine pining away for years and years without any hope of ever experiencing love." The argument continued for some time with neither sister conceding a single point. Anne Elliot shook her head and attended to her tea. She had certainly never considered 7 and 20 to be too old to inspire affection, until Captain Wentworth had returned and devoted his time and attention to ladies who were much younger than she. She placed her empty cup on the table and entered the conversation. "I believe, Miss Dashwood, that Miss Marianne is not entirely wrong." "Do you hear that?" Marianne exclaimed with glee. "I am not wrong." Eleanor levelled an annoyed glare at her younger sister. It was not an uncommon expression. Anne had seen Eleanor look at her sister that way many times. "Miss Elliot said you were not entirely wrong, and not entirely wrong is not the same as entirely correct. Therefore, even in Miss Elliot's assessment, you are wrong." "But not completely," Marianne protested. "Of course, you would never admit I was ever even partially correct, because you have to be right, and all others must be mistaken. It is just how you are." One eyebrow arched over an accusatory look. "I am not," Eleanor replied flatly. "I'm just better at judging things from a rational position than you are." "If I may," Anne interrupted. "Oh, of course. Forgive us." Eleanor settled back into her chair and took up her teacup as if not a thing in the world could disturb her. That was something which Anne admired about the eldest Dashwood sister. She was always so calm. It was reassuring just to be in her presence, for that peace seemed to fill the room and settle on its inhabitants like a warm, welcoming blanket after a walk in the rain. Anne had never felt so at ease in the pump room as she did at this moment. But then, she had always been here with individuals that were a great deal more like Marianne, a flutter of feelings and actions with just as many words. "I have never considered age to be the culprit in feeling or inspiring affection," Anne said. "The workings of the heart are, in my opinion, difficult to predict. Therefore, one might feel the greatest attraction and dedication to one who is younger or older than oneself with very little ability to explain such a thing. If only love were as easily lit and extinguished as a candle. But it was not. Anne knew that far too well." "I would agree," Eleanor said. "Are you saying," Marianne asked with no little amount of incredulity, "that one as young as myself might inspire love in the heart of the gentleman nearly twice my age? Or that Eleanor might attract the affections of one who is green from school?" She shot her sister a taunting look. "I am not that old," Eleanor said, playing into the provocation. "I am saying precisely that," Anne answered. "Indeed?" Marianne still seemed overcome with astonishment at the thought. "Quite." "Well, I suppose it is worth consideration," Marianne allowed, "even if it does strike one at first as being quite impossible." "I assure you that I've had ample years to consider such things," Anne replied with a smile. Marianne's eyes grew wide and her hand flew to her lips. "I had not considered. You do not seem— I am not offended. I am 7 and 20 and beyond my prime, as you said. Life is what it is. However, From my experience, I would have to say that a lady who is as old as I am and who has once had her heart engaged but, for whatever reason, has turned away that source of happiness must resign herself to never again inspiring or feeling affection as she once did. She may find felicity in companionship, but never passionate, ardent love, for those feelings have already been claimed and denied, and you are most certainly correct that it is an agony of a most dreadful sort. Marianne blinked and remained silent as she pondered what Anne had said. Then she placed her hand on her heart and sighed. That is most tragically beautiful. Tragically beautiful? Really, Marianne, Eleanor chided. Marianne ignored her sister and leaned toward Anne. Must it always be so, do you think? Must a love that has departed never be reclaimed? For the young or for the old? Anne asked with a small smile for Eleanor. For either, Marianne cried. I would not like to think that I have already dismissed my one chance at happiness without exploring it completely. Anne pushed the ache in her heart aside. You will know if you have refused it. There will be no doubt in your mind. Eleanor covered Anne's hand that lay on the table and gave it a squeeze. I believe what is meant to be will eventually be. There was a sense of urgent understanding in her words, and a longing in her eyes that Anne recognised all too well. Marianne leaned back in her chair and shrugged. Then it will be, for we all know Eleanor is never wrong. The comment was accompanied by a roll of the eyes that made Eleanor and Anne share a knowing smile. In time, Marianne would come to realise her folly. However, Anne hoped it would be long before she experienced the pain of having lost one's heart. Thank you for listening to A Woman at 7 and 20. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please help other readers find it by liking this video and sharing it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be notified when I upload another video. The 2023 copyright for Tales from Pemberley and other sweet story vignettes, in which A Woman at 7 and 20 can be found, is held by Leenie Brown. All rights reserved. The narrator for this story has been Christopher, a cloned voice made available by the voice actor through the Elevenlabs library.